Alexandria, here with a new lesson for you. My Bible point for this week is fear not. Our Bible verse for this week comes from the book of Matthew, Matthew 6:34. It says, "Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." You know, sometimes we find things in life that are scary. What are some things you might be afraid of? Maybe thunderstorms, barking dogs, snakes. There's all kinds of things that scare us. But we know that when we're afraid, we can always trust in God. I'm going to share 3 different scenarios from the Bible when people were afraid, but God was there to take care of them. We're going to start with Queen Esther. Now we know Queen Esther was a Jew, and some of the king's men put out a decree that all the Jews would be harmed. And Mordecai let Esther know that all of the Jews were in trouble. So Queen Esther knew she needed to do something. She needed to talk to the king to stop this. The problem was she couldn't just walk in and talk to the king. And so Queen Esther was afraid. But what she did was she prayed. She got all dressed up and she went and stood in the courtyard for the king to notice her and invite her in. And he did just that. He invited her into his throne room, and she invited him to a banquet. At the banquet, Queen Esther let him know of the edict he had passed and how that was going to harm her people. The king soon rescinded and took away the edict and saved all the Jewish people. You see, Queen Esther was afraid, but God was there to take care of her. We find another Bible character named Daniel. Daniel loved God very much, and he prayed to God 3 times a day. Well, again, some of the people in the kingdom didn't like that Daniel was praying to God and not worshiping the king. So they went to the king and again tricked the king into writing a decree that all the Jews had to stop praying to God and they had to worship the king only. That didn't stop Daniel. He had so much faith and love and trust in God, he kept praying every day. Well, soon the king found out about it. To be honest, the king was a little sad that he had been tricked, but he had made the law, so he had to hold fast to it. Do you think Daniel was afraid, knowing he was going to be thrown into the lion's den? Those lions were very hungry. Well, Daniel was tossed in there, but just like Esther, God saved Daniel. God sent an angel to protect Daniel from the hungry lions. The next day, the king came in and said, "Daniel, are you okay?" And he realized he was and said everyone should worship Daniel's God. Being afraid wasn't just in the Old Testament. Sometimes even in the New Testament, people were afraid. There was one day Jesus and his disciples were crossing the Jordan, and a big storm arose. Well, Jesus was asleep on the front of the boat, and the disciples began to be very frightened by the storm. They were afraid that the storm was going to break their boat. And they went and they woke up Jesus and said, "Don't you care that we may die?" And Jesus told the storm to calm, be calm. And the storm quieted down. Again, Jesus was there to take care of the disciples. So just as God gave us 3 examples of courage to face our fears, God will also give you the courage you need to face your fears. We just have to believe in God that he will take care of us through everything. So maybe sometimes you feel a little scared, but you don't have to face those fears alone. We give those fears to God. We can face them knowing God is with us and he knows our problems. We claim the promises of the Bible. God knows us and he loves us. He knows our needs, and he said he'll work all things out for our good. And one day he's going to take us to a better place, a place free of worry and fear, and we will live with him forever. So take your fears to God when you are afraid. Bye, boys and girls.